This is a Taimanov Sicilian, the opening you need to beat your opponent. In this video, we're going to make things very simple. We're going to focus on ideas and less on lines and variations. And we're going to learn the structure of the Taimanov system and the key moves all explained.
First, white will play the move e4, controlling the center, and now we will have to play the move c5. So it's harder for them to push the move d4 here. And now next, white will play the move knight to f3. And that will just control more squares in the center. And here we have to play the move e6. And the idea of e6 is that now we want to play d5 if white plays a very passive move. So for example, we have, let's say white plays ace 3, just a random passive move. Then we can just play the move d5. And most likely, white is going to take, and then we're going to have this great center with these two pawns, and we're going to get knight to c6 out. We're going to get knight to f6. We're going to develop the bishops, and everything's going to be all good. So after e6, and just to also mention, why are we not copying white's last move and just playing knight to c6? Well, then we get the Rosalimo here. And now if we play the move e6, then white can capture. And now you might be wondering, which pawn do I capture with? There's this chess principle, always capture towards the center. So we're going to do that. And this is known to be okay for white. And we don't want to get into this variation because we're trying to learn the Taimanov. So just to avoid all that, we're not going to bring out the knight first. We're going to bring out the pawn first to e6. And now, if the bishop comes in, this is just very silly now, because now we have to move a6. And white's, in some games, white even tries to stay on the diagonal, and then you can even push the b pawn. And this is honestly great for black, because this is all part of the Taimanov Sicilian opening. So that's why we play the move e6 first. And now in this position, white will most likely play the move d4. They want to control the center. And here we always have to take. We never want to let white take the center like that. So we'll capture, and then the knight will capture. And in this position, now we should play the move knight c6. And that is the Taimanov Sicilian.
Here is the general Taimanov Sicilian structure. So we want to first prioritize queenside development. And first move that is very easy is to play the move queen to c7. So the idea of queen to c7 is that now you're controlling the e5 square both with the knight and with the queen there. And you're also maybe getting control more of the c file here. The next move that we want to play is the move a6. And the idea of a6 is that we're stopping any piece from getting in here. The next move is to play the move b5. b5, the intention is just to gain more squares on the queen side. One of the chess principles is that you need to have space so your pieces can move freely. But b5 not only opens up more space for yourself, controls more squares, but also sets up for the move bishop to b7. And now you have this insanely great diagonal here. If they cancel kingside, you can see like that's already going to be great for you. And the last thing that you want to do is play rook to c8. Rook to c8, now you're going to have a lot of pressure on that pawn. So, there could be cases where if you capture with the knight and the queen recaptures, this pawn will be hanging, and you could be winning a pawn there very easily just from the setup. So I want you to notice that you prioritize the queen side first in general, and then you want to play the move knight to f6. Very easy. You generally put your knights on f6 anyways, so you want to do that after. You can play your bishop to here, or you can play the bishop to here, or you can place the bishop there. Those are the most common bishop moves I've seen in Taimanov Sicilian. So here are the three squares. And then after you develop your bishop, You then castle, and this is the structure that you want to be playing. So here's some benefits to the Taimanov Sicilian structure. First, we have this monster light square bishop. It's targeting the whole, it has so much control of the center, and it's potentially targeting that up to that g2 pawn. So there's a lot of tactics involved using that light square bishop. And now we have nice control of e5 here. The knight and the queen is controlling the e5 square so that the pawn can't be pushed to e5, which makes us our knight very happy there. And now the next is the c file is nice and ready to use. If we trade everything, then this pawn on c2 could be hanging, and we would just be up a pawn right from the opening. So if they just fall for the trick. But that's only for if they castle to the king side. And if they castle to the queen side, then we already have a great attack on the king, and we can potentially think about sacrifices if white's not very careful. The most common move by far in this position is to play the move knight to c3. And part of the Taimanov opening is just to develop the queen early, because we want to prioritize the queen side development. And you might be wondering, hey, our queen can be attacked. And you're right, it can be. White, the knight is trying to go to d6, and it's attacking the queen on c7. So what you do is just play queen to b8. You're guarding, you're just sliding back, and you're asking white, what are they going to do? And in this position, they can develop the bishop, let's say here. Then we can just play the move a6, and they're going to have to go back. It doesn't really matter where. Let's say they just go back to d4 here. Then we can just go back with the queen, and we just followed our setup. Now, let's say white tries to go queenside castling with queen d2. We just go play b5. We're already starting an attack. And let's say they castle the queen side. Then, just like with our setup, we're going to have now our monster bishop here. And let's say they develop the bishop to e2. Then, now we've just finished our setup here. But wait, there's one thing that you have to watch out for. Chess would be too much of an easy game if you could just, do everything that you wanted without watching for tricks. So this is what you have to watch out for. If you play the move rook to c8 here in this position, or actually before that, let's say white makes a move like bishop e2, they can play the move f3. Either of these moves doesn't matter, but the important fact is that if you play the move rook c8 in this position, white has to sacrifice knight takes b5. And pretty much you have to capture it according to Stockfish. And now they have this move bishop to b6. And the idea is that after you take, you're getting checkmated. So what's the point of me telling you this? Don't play the move rook c8 immediately. You have to first prepare it with the move knight to f6. And now you get to move your rook to c8, the next move. For example, now they play the move bishop e2, then the rook c8 is a fine move. These are the main attacking ideas when you're playing against white who's castled queenside. So first idea is to put the knight on c4. And the idea is we want to trade the knight that eventually will go on c4 for one of these bishops. Because bishops thrive in open positions, and we're going to open up the position when we later attack the king, so that's always a good trade. Now the next is we're going to have to put the rook behind pawns, and we're just going to support the push, support the pawn march. And if we get to do that, then white has less of a chance to survive the checkmate attack here. And lastly, white also wants to attack you. They're not going to just sit idly just by, and so they're going to attack you. And here, may the bravest warrior win. And what do you do when your opponent castled on the king side here? Well, what you can do is pressure the knight in the center. If they haven't traded, but if they traded, then just take with the bishop, and you're all good. And the whole goal is just trade. If you trade, then you can't ever lose, and this is okay position for black. I'm playing against an opponent rated 1851 in the Taimanov Sicilian, and I'll show you what I played this game. So first we have the move e4, c5, knight f3, and now I play the move e6. Like I said, play e6 first. Don't develop the knight because that's going to get into the Rosalimo. And then now we have the move d4. And I always take the pawn. You don't want to let them have the center. And they take the pawn. Now I play the move knight c6, just attacking the knight here. And they play the move knight c3, and I play queen c7. And they develop the bishop. And here, always play the move a6 here. Don't let these knights go here. Don't let this bishop here go there. With this one move, you basically stop 3 pieces there. And now they play the move f3. And then now I play b5. Like, just go for the structure. I'm not even thinking at this point. I'm just playing the structure. And here I play the move knight f6. I know you can play either or, knight f6 or rook c8. It's your choice. I would recommend probably knight f6 first if you're okay with trying to guard this e5 square if you're a bit more experienced. Now they play the move a3, and that stops the move bishop b4 there. So I go play the move bishop c5, and the whole point of developing to bishop c5 instead of going to e7 here is because I get to basically develop a tempo. White has to be very careful about where they put this knight, because if they just put it here, then I can just capture with check. They have to move the king back, and now I'm just up a piece. So that's why they have to be very careful there. So in this position, they played the move bishop to f2, which guards the bishop. And now I castle. They traded, and I take the bishop here, and I took with the queen. I know you can take with the bishop, and you want to take with the bishop if they played the move f4 instead of the move f3 here, because then they might be able to just counter your queen bishop battery with their own bishop. So, but they here in this position don't have that, and they play the move bishop f1. And now we have rook to d8. So like I suggested, one of the key attacking ideas is put rooks behind pawns and just push them. So here I bring my other rook into the game, and now we have the move rook to d6. Rook d6 is attacking, but that's all fine because I give a check here. And then after the king moves, I just want to trade here. Trading is fine. They declined the trade here. And here's one thing I haven't mentioned, but in the Sicilian, if you get to play the move d5, it's a very good sign in the Sicilian. And here I just did that, d5. So this is how you know I'm doing well in this position. Now after takes, I took back with the pawn. And now the rook goes to c1 here. I don't know what the big idea with that is, but it goes there. Now I try to slide my rook over here, and white plays knight to a2. And the idea behind that is, I guess they want to play the move b4, or that's what I'm thinking at least. So here, one thing that you can also do, this is a little bit more advanced, but you can, if you have some pawns here, the h pawn, you can push them. This is a common idea when your king, white's king is on h1 here. The knight goes to b4 here, I guess instead of the pawn, and now I play h4. We have c3, just double defending the knight here, and now we have the move h3. I was fine with the move h3 because if they captured, then I can take doubling the pawns in front of the king is always good for me. But in this position, they played the move g3, and this is a big blunder. I didn't capitalize it in this game, but the blunder is that now I have to move knight to g4. I'm threatening a fork here, win the queen, and if they take, then I have to move d4, check. And they're getting absolutely destroyed in the diagonal. And this is checkmate in 5, if you can find it. You can put it down in the comments. They played that. I didn't capitalize it. I just played the move a5 instead and pushed b4 here. And they got this position where now they attack my knight, and after a couple moves, they even took my pawn there. But this is fine. I play rook to e8. I'm threatening just win the queen here for 2 rooks if I need to. They go back, blocking that. I take the pawn, they take with the rook, and after queen b6, it just looks like they're defending very well. Now, I play this very brilliant move, knight to e4. And the idea here is that after they take and take, they have this move, but you can see I get to now start pressuring this rook, and they can't defend this. So I'm gonna win back my material, and I just gain a little bit more space there. So that's the idea of this knight sacrifice. And in this game, my opponent declined the sacrifice, and they just played queen c2. And of course, now I just take the rook, and then I infiltrate with my rook here. And I just want to highlight that for both the knight sacrifice on g4 and for this knight sacrifice on e4, the key piece that was playing in both those attacks was this bishop. So this is why this is called the monster bishop. And now king goes there, and now I just want to trade the bishop and rook here. The knight goes back, I take here, I play queen to b1, and that's just intending to trade the queens. And after knight d4, I trade the queens, play rook to d1. They go back attacking this rook. I just go attack this pawn, and after that they check. Sorry, not check. I just take the pawn, and after they go to knight to f5, I play rook c1, and after they block, they resigned because it's checkmate. Next move. So you don't have to memorize all these moves, but my hope is that you understand a little bit more about the structure. There's a lot of variations. I didn't talk about everything, but this is just a quick introduction to the Taimanov Sicilian, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this video and want more content like this, please like the video and subscribe.